Hi everyone, I'm Gina from Gina K Designs and your host of Stamp TV. Today on Stamp TV, I want to introduce a brand new product to you that I think you're going to love. Several years ago, actually it was closer to 10 years ago, I met a wonderful woman by the name of Angela Magnuson. And she owned a company called A Bit About a Bunch of Blocks, something like that. And what she did was she sold wood blocks to the rubber stamping industry. And I was a brand new stamp company at the time, and I needed wood blocks for my rubber stamps. So Angela and I became friends, and I bought all my blocks for all of my rubber stamps through Angela. Well, about a year or two later, Angela opened her own stamp company called Unity Stamp Company, a wonderful company that produces beautiful, deeply etched, pre-cut red rubber stamps. So Angela and I continued our friendship over the years, and even though we had similar products, we always talked about collaborating on a project together. So I'm so excited to introduce to you one of the stamp sets, one of 6 new stamp sets that Unity Stamp Company and Gina K Designs have created together. The stamp set I'm going to show you today is called Heart Flutter, and I'm going to make a couple of card projects for you. Now there are 6 brand new Gina K Design stamp sets available in deeply etched pre-cut rubber over at unitystampco.com. So check out Unity Stamp Company for these 6 brand new sets, and I'm really hoping that Angela and I can continue to bring you a line of rubber stamps that a lot of you really like, and they will complement the Gina K Designs clear stamp line. So let me show you what these stamps look like. These are huge images, and they are on deep red rubber, and they're pre-cut, so you don't have to do any hand cutting with scissors. And they come already on a cling cushion. And the Unity Stamp Company cling cushion is black. It's very clingy, and it works really well, so you're going to love that. So this is one of the stamp sets, and they come all ready to go. You just have to peel off the little backing that comes on them. So if you try to stick them down without peeling that off, they're not going to stick. So just peel that sticker layer off. And then I like to store mine on these binder sheets that we carry at Gina K Designs. Unity also has a really neat new packaging item on their website too, these clear thin boxes that are really nice for your red rubber stamps as well. So check those out. But if you're already using the Gina K Design storage method, these beautiful rubber stamps will adhere to our binder sheets, so you can use them that way as well. Okay, so let me show you a couple tools and products you're going to need to make these card projects. First, I'm going to use some ink, and the ink I'm going to use is the Gina K Designs Jelly Bean Green, Black Onyx, Lovely Lavender, and some of our Ocean Mist. I'm also going to be using some Versamark ink, and here I have an embossing magic pad. If you don't have this and you have the EK Success powder tool, that will work too. What this does is remove static or oil or anything from the surface of the card, so your embossing powder is only going to stick where you want it. Then you're going to need some dies, and this is optional. I decided to stamp the greetings on cardstock and then cut them out with dies, although you can stamp the greetings directly onto your card. I'm using some of the rectangle dies from Cottage Cutz. These are the double-stitched dies. I'm using one of the double-stitched circles, so double-stitched rectangle, double-stitched circle, and then I'm using one of the purple stackers dies from Cheery Lynn Designs. Then I have some foam squares. I have a little bit of wide black gingham ribbon. I have some adhesive, some sponge daubers. I have a lot of adhesive on my desk. Adhesive. I have some scissors, and then for cardstock, I am going to use some of our heavy base weight white for the card bases. I'm going to use some black for our layering, and then some of our layering weight white for the focal image pieces that I'm going to be doing today. I also have the Marvy heat tool, and I'm using a Cuttlebug. You can use a Big Shot, you can use any embossing machine or die cutting machine that you have. To begin, I have a white piece of cardstock here, and I'm going to take my embossing magic pad and I'm going to run that over the entire surface of this piece of cardstock. And then, using some Versamark ink, I want to grab one of these rubber stamps. So I'm going to use this. This is like a leafy sprig, but it has hearts on it instead of leaves, which is kind of fun. All right, and you can see my Versamark ink is a little bit beat up, but that's okay. It'll still work really well. So I'm going to ink up this stamp, and then I'm going to start down here. Well, I'll start up here. I'm going to start, and I'm going to stamp one image right there. And then I'm going to turn my cardstock and stamp another image coming in from this direction. And even though you guys can't see this on the screen, you will be able to see the watermark left behind on the Versamark with no problem at all. Then I'm going to stamp one coming up from this angle. And then I'm going to stamp one coming in this way. All right. Now the next step for this card is to use some embossing powder. I have two embossing powders here. I have the Gina K Designs Fine Detail Clear Powder and the Fine Detail White Powder. It does not matter which one you use for this particular card because I'm working with white cardstock. But if you're using something like ivory or craft, another color, then use the clear because you're going to want the natural color of the cardstock to come through. So I'm going to use the white on this. And you should be able to see, you can see where I touched that with my hands with lotion on it after I used my embossing magic pad. You should be able to see some of those designs faintly with the embossing powder on them. Now let me get rid of this excess powder. And now I'm going to emboss these using my heat tool. And we just want to emboss these until the design comes up to a nice shiny white. You don't want to overcook it. Okay, so now I'm going to let that dry just a minute while I get my ink pads together. The inks I'm going to use for this are the Ocean Mist and the Lovely Lavender, and I have some sponge daubers here that I washed. You can wash these, and I just wash them with warm water, and then I let them dry overnight. I squeeze out the excess and let them dry overnight. But they will look stained, so I guess it's just my eye, but I tend to like to use the ones that are stained the color of the ink that I'm going to use, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, so I'm going to start with a little bit of Ocean Mist, and I'm going to really ink up my dauber, and I'm going to start on this corner. The top, this is actually the top corner of my design, but I'm going to flip it around. And I'm going to start up here, and in a circular motion, I'm going to work some of this color in, and just until you start to see the images come out. Can you see that? So just a little bit, and then I'm going to kind of work my way down, and then do this bottom one the same way. And then I'm going to add a little bit just up in here. Now the Gina K Designs ink are water-based inks, and they do blend really nicely together. So if you're doing blending techniques, they will work very well. Now here's the Lovely Lavender ink, and now I'm going to fill in the other areas using this. So I'm going to start on this side and come in and bring up the image there with the Lovely Lavender. I'm going to work my way into that Ocean Mist, blending that together. This is such a nice soft color palette. I'm going to do the same thing down here. Work some of that ink in. and then bring out the design. You can see I'm not covering the entire piece of cardstock. I really just wanted to bring out the images. And if they're not out strong enough, you can go back over that and bring the color down a little bit more until you really see the image the way you want to see it. So let me grab that Ocean Mist one again and drag this color out just a hair more too. And then blend those colors together. Okay, so now once you've gotten your color on there, you can take a piece of paper towel and you can gently rub over the embossed images to remove any ink that's sitting up on top, because the embossing powder is resisting that ink. All right, now for my next step, I'm going to add a little bit of black onyx here, and I'm going to stamp this fun little image. It's a dotted line, like a stitched line that has a heart in it, so it looks like the trail of something flying. And that is going to go right about here, like that. Okay, and then I'm going to grab this little solid butterfly, and I'm going to ink that up with some black ink. And I like to really look at it and make sure it's inked up well, and it is. And then I'm going to stamp that right at the end, like that. Okay, so now it's time to add the greeting. So I'm going to remove this butterfly, and I'm going to grab the greeting. And the greeting I'm going to use for this card is "You Make My Heart Flutter," since it looks like the little butterfly is fluttering around. And I'm going to grab another little piece of white cardstock and stamp this. Make sure that's inked up well. And I'm going to stamp that onto this piece of white cardstock. And then I'm going to grab my Cuttlebug. So let me move a few of these things out of the way. I'm going to grab my Cuttlebug, and I'm going to cut out this greeting. So I have an A and a B plate. I have my greeting panel, and then I have this rectangle die, this double-stitched rectangle die. Make sure that looks straight. Looks pretty good. And then I'm going to cut that out. And there it is, my little greeting piece. So I also cut out, and I just cut this with a paper cutter, a square piece that's just 1/8 of an inch bigger all around. And I'm going to adhere, I'm going to move this out of the way, I'm going to adhere these two pieces together using some of my tape. And then this whole panel is going to go onto a black panel. I'm going to lay that on top. And I really like these thin little borders on my cards. I think it just kind of makes everything pop, but it's not big and clunky. I love the dot adhesive. It's my favorite. You see how forgiving that is? If you didn't put it on right, you can move it without tearing your paper. It's a little bit hard when you're sitting down to line these layers up. I kind of like to get a better overview of it, but that looks pretty good. Okay. And then I'm going to grab a white card base, and that's going to go on top of that white card base. Just like that. Okay. And then this can be put on to your card using foam squares. And I did another version of the card where it's already popped up there. So you can see what the finished card project looks like. And I want to show you one more variation. If you don't want to do all of this work and you want to keep it real simple, here is another version of that same card. And all I did on this one was just stamp the greeting right on there. And I have the butterfly going in the other direction on this one, just for something a little bit different. So there's certainly different layouts that you can do, even on such a simple card. Now the next card that I want to make for you, I want to use the dandelion image. So it's going to be a similar technique. Let me find a white piece of cardstock here. All right. And then again, I'm going to rub over the entire surface of this cardstock using my embossing magic pad. And I'm going to use the big dandelion image. I really like this image. But you know, you can make a single flower look like more than one flower just by the way you position it on your cardstock. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with one tall one, and the tall one's going to go right about here. So I will put that right about there. And then, and that shows the whole little swirly leaf. Then the next one, I'm not going to show the leaf, so it's going to be pretty low, and it's going to kind of angle in a little bit, like that. And then my last one isn't going to be as high as that middle one, but I'm going to turn it so that I'm angling it out a little bit, like that. So you'll see how it kind of looks like three different flowers just because of the positioning and the way it's turned and stuff like that. All right, so once again, I'll use a little bit of the white detail powder. And just pour that on top. Brush away the excess. And I'm going to put that back into my jar and get it out of the way. Okay, and now I'm going to heat emboss this one. And again, just wait until it comes up nice and shiny and white. Don't overcook it. You can see when I'm embossing, I'm not doing the hairdryer thing where you go back and forth. I'm just keeping it steady until I see the color change to shiny and then moving to the next area. All right. So now I have my three dandelions here. Now, the colors I'm going to use for this are Jelly Bean Green and Ocean Mist. So let me find which one had the Ocean Mist on it. That will be for Jelly Bean because this one has Ocean Mist. So I'm going to start with the Jelly Bean. And I'm going to blend Jelly Bean and Ocean Mist together. I'm going to start down here at the bottom and just in a light circular motion, I'm going to bring this Jelly Bean up, mostly along the stems. And then straight across, like that. Then, get that one out of the way since they look the same. I'm going to use the Ocean Mist. I'm going to bring that in from the side here and blend that together right over those flowers. Okay, I'll get a little bit more over here. All right, so now I have my flowers. I'm going to rub that excess off. I think I'll add a little bit more over here too. And what you're going to notice is our ink, it's very vibrant when you first put it down, and it will stay vibrant if you're a little more heavy-handed, but if you're lighter-handed with it, it does kind of fade. It gets a little bit softer looking, and I'll show you that in my sample card that I made originally. And it's very soft. It's beautiful. Okay, so my greeting that I'm going to use for this one is I love you. This will be a nice Valentine's card with non-traditional colors, kind of like that. Okay, so I'm going to stamp this. You know what, I'm going to use this piece of cardstock that I used for the other one. There we go. You can see how nice the rubber stamps too. It's just spot on every time. Okay, and I'm going to bring the Cuttlebug back into the scene and do A and B plate. And then I'm going to cut this out using this round die. This is the double stitch die. So I'm going to cut that out. And that is what that looks like. And then I'm going to take a black piece of cardstock and I'm going to cut out that purple circle stackers die. That is a really nice border for these Cottage Cutz double stitched circle dies. I just love how delicate this little border is around there, and you'll be able to see that. It's just enough to make it pop. Well, I'll show you on the white card. It's probably easier to see that way. Okay, so now we're going to assemble this card. My first step for assembly is going to be to grab this piece of black cardstock, and I'm going to adhere these two panels together. I do like to use a little bit of extra tape when I'm working with embossed panels because they do kind of warp a little bit, even if you let the heat gun heat up first. And then this is going to go onto my white card base, but first I'm going to add a piece of ribbon. So, I love this big wide black gingham, is cute. So I'll put that right across here, and then I'll tape that on the back. I probably don't need quite as much here, so we'll just do a little trim there. I'll tape the one side down. I'm going to look at it, make sure it's straight. And there we go. Okay. So then this whole panel is going to get adhered to my card base. Like that. And then I'm going to adhere these two pieces together. This is just a tiny little delicate border, so pretty, but just enough to really make it pop. And then I'm going to grab one of these foam squares, and if I don't have small ones, I just cut the big ones in half or in quarters, so I'm not stuck. I'll just put one at the top and one at the bottom here. This way that ribbon can run through the two. Let me peel the liners off and stick this down. Okay. Now I'm going to add a little touch of ribbon, a little bow, actually a knot, cheater's bow. And then I'm going to just tie that and give it a nice snug pull, like that. And then trim those ends. Like that. I'll probably use another little trim on this side, just a little. Okay. So that is my finished card project, and I wanted to show you, got all the little phrase from the ribbon. I wanted to show you this one I had done a little bit earlier, and you can see the color lightened up just a little bit, not much. It just takes a few minutes for that to all dry and soften up a bit. So this is one card project, and here is the other card project featuring the new Heart Flutter stamp set at Unity Stamp Company by Gina K Designs. So I'd love to know which card you like better. Which is your favorite? Do you like the lovely lavender and ocean mist combination, or do you like the jelly bean green and ocean mist combination? Or maybe you like them both. Either way, I'd love to hear your thoughts. So if you're interested in these stamp sets, I will link the Unity Stamp Company below the screen so that you can find them easily. And I'll be back with more video projects featuring the 6 new sets that I have with Unity Stamp Company, and with more Gina K Designs stamp projects too. So thank you so much for watching, and if you're new to my YouTube channel, hit subscribe. I'd love to be able to send more videos your way. And thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.